tell us about your background, perhaps your educational background, and maybe what your specialty in economy or international trade and relations.
Okay, my background, of course, I'm Zimbabwean. I have about, I think, 5 degrees. I think my first degree is in politics and administration. Then I had my first master's in international relations. Then another master's MBA, specialized in public management, and then another master's in managerial communication. And then, of course, PhD in international studies with a concentration on security, politics, like that. So that's my academic training. My professional background, I worked in the government of Zimbabwe, in the office of the president. We don't have a prime minister in Zimbabwe. I was in the office of the president for several years. I rose up to become a director in the office of the president. And then I came here in Malaysia on a government-to-government scholarship to do my PhD. And then they offered me to teach. Initially, I was supposed to teach for 1 year, but I've been here for the past 10 years as a lecturer at the Universiti Utara Malaysia. So I have extensive experience in diplomatic work, because as the office of the president, I used to be a member of Zimbabwean delegations to the Commonwealth, to the EU, ASP meetings, joint commissions, and so forth. So I'm very knowledgeable about issues to do with trading, economic statecraft, and so forth. Yeah. So my teaching, I have extensive experience in teaching security courses, IR courses, the whole gamut. I also taught strategic models, which is somehow maybe you can say it's part of IPE, the International Political Economy. So, which is close to the subject that you are addressing. But what is interesting is that I also teach I was teaching American politics and foreign policy for the past, I think, 5 years. So I'm an authority on American politics. And your question is today, I think, is something that I believe I have some little important knowledge. So that's me. That's me.
That's very wonderful, and I'm very honored to have you as our interviewee.
Thank you very much. I'm also happy to be interviewed by you, Hani.
It's an honor, really. So, move on to our first question. What do you think about US-China trade war in general? Just some overview on our topic.
Sorry, our topic on what? On trade war. Trade war. Yeah, I mean, trade wars is becoming, one of the major instruments of foreign policy. You see, it's now being used. There's the intensity in its usage. I can see it's increasing. We see it being deployed. After the Russians invaded Ukraine, we saw, President, Trump, implementing it against China from 2018 to about, 2020. You can also claim maybe from 2016, when Trump became president, was already, using it. So it is becoming a very favorable instrument of foreign policy. So I think we need to examine the ramifications, the implications of such a usage, because now it is being used by the great powers against each other. But what if it is then cascaded down and then it's used against developing countries like our countries? Then it becomes something that is devastating. So for me, it's a war. It's a trade war. We can say we are seeing the weaponization of trade. So trade is being used. Yeah.
That's very insightful, and I believe that we can move on to the next question since we have the general view about this topic, right? So, do you think US-China trade war has direct or indirect impact on European Union economy, perhaps?
Not only just European Union, the global economy. Because we are talking about the two most powerful, economies of the world. Number one and number two. Number one is America. Number two is China. And after all, China and US, the economic relations are so deep. They are like Siamese twins. I was at once interviewed about this. I think it was last year, 2020, on Astro, and I told them that their economies are joined at the hip. You can even trace the video. You can also use it for your research purposes. It's there. I think type my name, maybe Astro Awani. I think it was Astro Awani. Yeah, I was there. I think the video link is there. You can easily ask me about US-China trade war. So the impact of that is quite significant, because if China, particularly if America and China, if they sneeze, everyone catches a cold. That's how important the two economies are. They propel. America contributes 20% of the total global economic activity. Maybe if you combine China and America, maybe they contribute 40% or 45% of the total global economic activity. So whatever happens to these two gigantic states, extraordinary states, if I may use that word, they're two extraordinary states. It will affect not only the EU, it will affect everyone. But there's a small silver lining I need to point out. So if China and US have a problem like what they are having, there is also some positive in the sense that the EU may take advantage. Either the EU deepen its economic relations with America, or with China, or with both. They can take advantage of this rift and then fill the void, the lacuna, the gap, that would have arisen as a result of this, economic confrontation. I'm waiting for you.
Oh, sorry. I thought they were a laggy there. Okay. Thank you so much for the answer. And then the third question is, why is it other country, in our case, European Union, also impacted by US-China trade war, even though EU is not directly involved in the conflict, as in EU is not who has warred them?
Sorry, can you rephrase again? Not get the question rightly. You're saying what?
I'm saying EU is not who is at war, right? The one who is at war is US and China. So why is it EU also get the consequence of the trade war? Why is it?
Yeah, because the process of globalization has created an interdependent global economy. We are so much interdependent because of the revolutions, the technological revolutions in communications. So our economies are so much integrated, you see. So we are part of a global village, as they used to say in the past. So economies are integrated. So if something happens to China, it will affect America, it will affect EU, it will affect Africa, it will affect Asia. So this is how it is, because the global forces have deepened our associations, and our interests are converging and so forth. So if anything happens to one big player like China or America or both of them, definitely everyone is going to feel the pinch.
I see. Yeah, I know that all states in the whole world is actually interdependent with each other, right? Okay, that's very great answer. And then the fourth one is: does EU's economy benefited or harm in the U.S.-China trade war, or both? And if benefited, who gives more benefit? Is it U.S. or China? And if harm, which country caused more harm towards EU than the most, US or China?
I think a trade war involving these countries is devastating to both. It's devastating to both because, as I said, their economies are joined at the hip. You see, when America suffered the global recession in 2008, it was China that quickly funded America out of the mess. Not because China, likes America. No. It's a question of their own interest. Because America is the biggest market for China. So if America suffers economically, it was going to affect the Chinese pockets. So these two countries, they may not like each other ideologically, but when it comes to economic relations, they can't avoid it. So when you see trade war being imposed by Trump and so forth, some of it is just posturing. It's just posturing because they need each other. You remember, if you look at the US-China economic relations, you must find out that both of them, they've got their own objectives, okay? Obviously, China, it wants to replace America as the dominant hegemon. On the other hand, America wants to sustain and maintain its hegemonic position as the foremost, extraordinary state, superior state. You see, so yes, that's why sometimes they end up having these negative, trade wars. But the truth of the matter is that these two countries, they need each other. They need each other. There are certain American industries that want cheap imports from China. There are certain American companies that are being hit by the cheap Chinese. The objective of America. The objective of America, when Deng Xiaoping succeeded the power struggle, against the Gang of Four, which was led by Mao Zedong's, widow, you would see that Deng implemented the open door policy, which made China to adopt capitalism in its economic governance. But politically, China remained an authoritarian communist state. But he opened door, and the Americans willingly helped China, investing in China until China became a powerful economy. So what is the sinister objective of America over China? There's a talk that America thinks that if China continues to economically perform, then its middle class is going to expand. Once its middle class expand, they're going to effect changes in the Chinese political system. So America is using trade and other things as incentives to transform Chinese society, so that at some point in time, the Chinese society is going to embrace the Western liberal values and overthrow the communists. That's the thinking. Now, I think people like Trump, they have a different tack. They think China will continue to develop using their model without any political democratization. So that's why they're taking hard lines there, that we cannot allow this undemocratic state to be so powerful, because one day, if we're not careful, they're going to knock us off the #1 page. So the issue is a bit complicated. But from a purely economic point of view, it is irrational for China and America to engage in a trade war, because both countries are going to suffer the consequences. So what seems to be driving this trade war is more of the politics, is more of the posturing, not economic rational principles. Yeah. I hope you are enjoying my answers.
It's a good answer, yeah. That's really helpful for my research. And then, what is it the benefit or harm that the trade war does to EU's economy exactly? European Union.
Of course, if the trade war, if it triggers a global recession, then there's going to be contagion effect, including EU. EU will be affected, because EU also relies a lot on American products. I'm sure EU and China also have deepened and broadened their economic relations. So, like I said in my earlier talk, China and America, if you combine these economies control possibly 40% plus of the total gross economic activity in the world. So if those players don't operate at the maximum throttle due to trade wars and etc., of course, definitely the members of the international community and their people are most likely going to suffer some negative consequences.
Okay, we are doing great so far. Now move on to our last question finally. What do you think?
Yes.
Okay, so what do you think EU can do in order to safeguard their position in the middle of trade war? How can they ensure they won't get harmed in the future, or maybe they could take advantage in the middle of dispute? What are the steps they can take?
I think, like I said, I believe that the trade war that happens most likely is going to be more like posturing. It's going to be posturing. It's more talk. On the ground, I think there is to maintain the strategic economic engagement. Because at the end of the day, one of the main foreign policy objectives of any country is the pursuit of economic prosperity. So anything that harms a country's economic interest definitely will not be tolerated. So obviously what China and America, like I said, what's happening is more of sending each other's message, it's more of controlling maybe the pace of development the other is pursuing. Obviously, America is uncomfortable with China's economic rise. Because if that trajectory continues, then China is going to emerge as the most powerful state in the world. And I don't think Anglo-Sam, America is going to like that. So for me, the trade war will remain in some form of low intensity. It will never be full blown in the sense that the trade war principles will be quite stiff and so forth. It's unthinkable, because both countries need each other, because the other one produces so much cheap products, then the other one also is a huge buyer of that. But then you must also know what is the root of the trade war. The root of the trade war is that America accused China of manipulating its currency. Because the Chinese currency's value is I think the Americans are right, is devalued by the Chinese as a strategy to boost their exports. Because if the Chinese currency goes down, it means that the goods are going to be cheaper when they are sent to Europe and so forth. So for America, that is a very, very unfair practice by China to manipulate its currency, which is against the World Trade Organization's rules, in terms of engagement in trade and so forth.
I see. Thank you, Doctor. I think the information that I have gained so far is enough, more than enough actually. It's very helpful and insightful for my topic. And it's an honor to interview you today. And we've come to our end of the interview. Thank you so much. And I apologize for taking your time too long and, maybe perhaps
No,
I bother you.
it's great. I'm so impressed by the mastery of your English. Most Malays, they tend to struggle. I don't know what is the secret to your English mastery. Maybe you've got an English speaking boyfriend, maybe. But it's quite good, very impressive. I'm sure you're such a good student, and I wish you success in your research. And I don't know if possible, maybe one day, who knows, where we may meet and so forth. But I really enjoyed the interview. Thank you very much. Yeah.